What's good, family? Welcome to my channel. Today, I'm going to show you guys how to make a basic template, and that way you can just get started for future projects, or when you feel the creativity flowing, you don't really have to think too hard and set up anything. You just get right into making music. All right, let's go. Okay, so let's get into it. First thing we're going to do, we're going to start off with an empty project. Okay, the first sequence, intro, track. You can start off with drums or instruments. I normally start off with instruments, so I'll name the first track keys. It's on drum program, so I'll put it on plugin. We'll use height. Everything sounds good with the piano, so I start off with the piano. The preset, we'll go with we'll use summer. So right now, we've got the sequence, we've got the first track, and we've got a plug-in. The next thing we'll do, we'll create a second track, and this will be a drum program. So we'll go back to drum program. We'll name this drums. On the drum program, we'll name it STS 3000 drum kit. All right, so right now we're looking at two tracks. We've got one plug-in track, which is our keys, and the second track, which is drums. We don't have any sounds in there as of yet. So let's go put some sounds in here. Okay, I'm going to load a drum kit. Okay, so we come back. We got a drum kit. So we've got a drum kit, and we've got a piano. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go to channel mixer. Okay, so in programs, as you can see up top, we've got a piano program, and we've also have a drum kit program. So on the piano program, or whatever instrument you start off with, let's put an EQ on there. I like to start off with EQ. EQ compressor or compressor EQ, depends on your mixing style. I always start off with an EQ first. So this is one of my favorite EQs in the MPC, the Air Para EQ. We'll put that on there, and we'll also put a compressor on top of that. So we'll go to dynamics, and we'll use an air compressor. So you go in here. The EQ part of it is here. So if you want to, you can start. I don't mess with this until I figure out which piano I want to use. But then you go to the high-low. I'll turn that on, and I'll turn that on. This is in the Air Para EQ. So then this will cut out all the low end. So I'll come all the way up to safe is like 260, 300. I mean, you don't want to cut out too much of your mids. And then on the high frequency, I'll come all the way down to 10. So 9, 10. And that's just to give me a basis to start off. Then on the EQ part, I'll leave it alone until I get ready to mix. And let's go into the air compressor. And I like to turn that on classic. That way, if I need to do some adjustments on the threshold or the ratio, I'll go from there. So if you go back to channel mixer, you see the piano. You've got an EQ and a compressor. This is just basic. Now, let's go over to the drum kit. Let's go here. Again, let's put the EQ. We'll put the Air Para EQ on there. We'll do the same thing. There's the EQ part, and there's the high-low cut. So we'll go to high-low cut. We'll turn it on. And these are my drums. So I like to cut below, let's say about 5K. So 5 kilohertz. And then for the frequency, depends on if I separate my bass from my drum kit. A lot of times I'll load my my bass into my drum kit, but a lot of times I'll separate them. So with the frequencies, I'll cut out anything below 60. So that to me is safe, because you don't want your bass cut out of your kicks in your bass drum. So that's the EQ. So we'll go back. Let's add a compressor. We'll also put the air compressor on the drums, and we'll put it on classic. There you go. Go back to channel mixer. And as you can see, we've got 2 programs, and each of them has an EQ and a compressor on it. Okay, so now I'll do my levels in my drums. So we'll go to the drums. We'll go to pad mixer. So I'll watch my drums in here. So I'll adjust all the levels until they give me a minus 3 dB. So we'll click. So anything hitting over that, I'll adjust it. As you can see, the leftover marks will tell you where it's hitting. There you go. Okay, so you go through each individual sound. It gives you a good level to start off with your drums. Okay, so now I've adjusted all the levels on my individual drum sounds. And that's because I have a compressor on top of this program. So the compressor is giving me more dynamics to my kit. So I don't want anything to clip, and it also gives me more headroom. So I've got a lot of headroom in all of my sounds now within my drum kit, and that's what we want. We're doing this for headroom. So now we'll go from the programs. We'll go over to the returns. Now, if you watched my previous video on how to make a drum kit, you'll already know some of what I'm going to show you now. But this is going to make it permanent, because this is going to be an actual template that we're going to use for future projects within our returns. And this is how I set up my returns. You can set up your returns however you mix. Now, first return, I always set it as a quarter delay. So I go into my delays. I use the delay analog sync. I'll go inside of there, and I'll set it to quarter delay. Okay, that's the first return. Now, you can add multiple effects to this. So if you just want to add a delay, and you also want to put, let's say, a reverb on there also. So you want to put a delay and a delay tape sync. That's an option too. So on your first return, you have 4 inserts or effects that you can put on each return. To start off, this is how I do it. I put just a quarter delay on the first return. Then also on my second return, I'll put an 1/8 delay. So I have an 1/8 delay on my second return. And this is how I work. So automatically, when I get ready to do any kind of mixing, I already know what's on my first return and what's on my second return. This is a quarter and this is an 1/8. Now we're going to add our reverbs. So on the third return, I'm going to add a large reverb. So we're going to go down to large, reverb, large. And on the fourth, we're going to add a small or a medium reverb. We could do let's keep it small. So we'll do a small reverb. So right now on our returns, we've got the quarter delay, the 1/8 delay, the large reverb, and the small reverb. Okay, so Next, we'll go over to our submixes. So on our submixes, this is all the template that we're going to save and pull up for future projects. And however you like to work, and eventually you'll find your own style, your own mixing techniques that you want on your template. This is just to show you what this is capable of. A lot of people don't believe that you can do some deep mixing within the MPC, and you can. Okay, before I add any inserts to the submixes, I'm going to show you how to send the individual drum sounds to each submix. So I'll go back to the main menu, make sure it's on drums, and I'll go to pad mixer. So now I'm in the pad mixer, which are my drums. Okay, so go to route. If you look down here, you'll see route. So let's route these to the proper submixes. And as you can see, I've already done it. So I've got my snares and my snaps going to submix 2. And I've got my hi-hats going to submix 4. And let's send, you've got my kick and my bass drum, let's send those to submix 1. So those are going to submix 1. Now, let's go back to channel mixer, submixes. And now each hit, you can see the meter. This is my kicks coming out of submix 1. This is my snares coming out of submix 2. This is my snaps and claps. And it's my hi-hats coming out of submix 4. Okay, now those returns that we have, they're represented by the send. You have a return, but now we're going to send that return to the submix, and that's what this is for, the send. And that's why you want to know what you put on each return. So on my first return is the quarter delay. On my second return is the eighth delay. And then on my third return is the large reverb, and on my fourth is the small reverb. So we'll do the eighth delay for my snares. And this is on send 2. So I'm going to turn it up. And that affects all of them. There you go. Now, let's go to the hi-hat. Okay, now let's add the same eighth delay to submix 4. There you go. Now let's add some reverb. So we'll go to the fourth one, which is the small reverb. Let's add that to submix 2. Now we've got an eighth delay and a small reverb on all of our snares and snaps. Mix, and we'll add this same small reverb to our hi-hats. And that way my drums sit in the same room. There you go. And you can continue to do this with all of your individual sounds. Okay, now we're going to save it. But before you save it, you want to make sure you save as template. So we'll save it. I'll overwrite. But if this is your first time creating a template, you won't have this. There you go. Now you've just created your first template. Depending on your initial setups, when you load up your MPC, if If I go to menu, I go to new project. You get this screen. You'll have empty project where you can just start from scratch, or you'll have user template, which is the template we just created. For me, I'll see my piano and I'll see my drums. If you come to channel mixer, I'll see the EQ and the compressor that I've added to the piano and to the drums. And then we'll go up to my returns. My returns, the first return, second return, third return, and the fourth return. And everything looks good. And you can continue to build on and get more and more in depth in how you like to start. And that way, when you're starting up a project, all of these little minuscule things you'll have out the way. Okay, so now you have your template. Thank you for watching. If you got any content out of here or anything that you can use, I would appreciate it if you would hang around, subscribe, and like, and even leave a comment. That would help out the channel. Thank you very much, and I'm out.